proposed new laws will allow people to access a portion of their pension funds. The Congress of South African Trade Unions has made submissions on the Revenue Laws Amendment Bill. For more on this, we're joined by Matthew Parks, Cosatu's Parliamentary Coordinator. Good morning to you. Thank you for your time. You noted some fundamental flaws in the bill that you thought needed amending. Talk to us about that.
Yes. No, good morning. So we're quite pleased with what we've managed to reach so far as Cosatu. This is a call we have made as Cosatu to government in 2020. It's taken a bit of a journey to reach this far, but we're quite pleased there is a bill now at Parliament to provide workers limited access to the pension funds when in need. And the target date for implementation is March next year, hopefully. So on a positive level, it's a good framework. It gives a significant reforms to the pension funds that in the future you would have a two-pot regime where 1/3 of your pension fund will be parked in a savings pot, and then 2/3 in a preservation pot, and then you'll be able to access the 1/3 savings pot once a year as the need arises. So that's quite positive. That enables workers to get some relief from the pension funds when they're struggling, without having to resign, as many do, without having to deplete the pension funds, as currently many are compelled to do. We think it might also help to incentivize workers to save more and to top up the savings pot more often, knowing that once a year they could access it when in need. So the remaining kind of areas of concern, and so we've also managed to resolve another area of concern, which is that we had asked for it to include public servants as well, because all workers are drowning in debt and are struggling. Many haven't received increases and are supporting relatives who have lost jobs. So Treasury has agreed that it will include public servants, so it applies to all workers, public and private, so that's very positive. The two remaining areas of concern is that workers are really struggling in debt. They've undergone significant financial losses over the past few years. They're looking very forward to this bill coming into effect next year. But the bill doesn't provide for immediate relief when it comes into effect next year. It'll be going forward, so it'll take some time for workers to accumulate sufficient savings to be able to tap into. We think workers should be allowed to simply convert their existing savings when it comes into effect next year to the new two-pot regime, so to transfer, in other words, the existing pension funds, and then to be able to access immediately that 1/3 savings pot. So we think that can be done. We just hope that government and Parliament will, compromise and meet with us on resolving that, and we think it's quite easy to do so. And the other remaining concern is that currently under the law, if a worker resigns or is dismissed or is retrenched, so they lose a job, in other words, they can access the full pension fund minus tax deductions. So the bill is proposing that for savings accumulated beyond next year, workers will only be able to access the savings 1/3. And we think that if a worker loses a job for whatever reason, retrenchment or dismissal or forced resignation, they should still be allowed access to the full pension, both the savings and the preservation pots, minus tax. Because a worker who's lost their jobs will take some time to find another job in this economy with an unemployment rate of 44%. And we shouldn't be putting workers at risk of not being able to feed their families, not being able to take care of their children, or even losing their homes because they can't service their home loans or service the car loans, etc. So we think for us that the existing provisions of allowing workers full access to the pension funds when they lose their jobs should be retained. So I think for us, those are the two remaining issues. We are hopeful government will listen to us and Parliament will address it. If we can do so, it'll be huge and be a major victory for workers. It'll really give a lot of relief to workers who are really struggling to survive. And it'll actually be a financial stimulus to the economy and a boost to the savings industry in the long term as well.
You make mention of workers struggling in debt and, of course, COVID-19 exacerbating the situation. Essentially, what you're saying is this will allow workers to stay in their jobs and not feel the pressure of leaving their jobs to cash in on a pension fund.
Yes, exactly that. Because right now, under the law, you can access your pension fund only if you hit retirement or if you lose your job or resign. So many workers, because they have a salary of 15,000 and they've got monthly debts of 20,000, so they just can't survive. So they end up cashing out and resigning from the job and cash out a pension fund of maybe R1 million, for example, only to pay off debts of about 200,000 rand. So it creates the worst of both scenarios. One is that the worker is now unemployed and is unlikely to find another job soon, so they've lost the monthly salary. The second is that they have depleted the entire pension fund, and that will come back to haunt them when they hit retirement age and haven't saved enough money to retire in comfort. So this proposal says that, well, in future you don't need to resign from your job, so you can remain employed, remain earning your salary. Second, that you can access the savings third of your pension fund, and then you can choose how much you want to withdraw. If you say, for example, your debt levels is 100,000 and you've got maybe 200,000 in your savings pot, you can just choose to access the 100,000, pay off your debt, and keep the remaining balance for the next year or whenever a future emergency might arise. So it gives more options. It's more pragmatic. It provides a way to address many of the current flaws in the system. But we also think it's actually going to help boost the pension funds because one, people will be depleting much less. They'll be taking what they need and not what's they're entitled to. And second is that it's going to incentivize people to save more, knowing that once a year, if I'm in need, I have an emergency fund I could tap into.
Very well. Thank you so much for that, Matthew Parks, Cosatu's Parliamentary Coordinator, speaking about the submissions on the Revenue Laws Amendment Bill. Thank you for your time.